Well, now we're actually recording, and no one will know the litany of problems.
Litany,
Litany. The litany of
Uh,
issues that I was having, not only with the English language, but with the internet and microphone and lights and cameras. But we're finally to the action part of all of that.
yes.
So we're
I have pliers on my desk to fix said problems. That's the level that we were at.
man.
Annoying.
I actually bought some pliers today. I bought a new
Okay.
pair of pliers today because I had to go to Home Depot to I'm
hmm
doing some I'm building a set. That's my big project this week. I'm building a full
Oh.
set at our studio
Oh.
for a podcast for Bud Light.
Oh.
And
Is it our podcast?
it's
Are
not
we being sponsored by Blood Light?
Blood Light. It's
Blood Light.
it's every Transylvanian's favorite beverage.
Low fat plasma.
No, man, when we told Bud Light we would do League of Legends stuff with them at Team Liquid, we said, and by we, I don't mean me, I mean someone else, so I won't throw under the bus, was like, oh, yeah, we can, do some podcasts for you. People will love that, right? And then that quickly became into, hey, Joe, we have to make a bunch of League of Legends podcasts for Bud Light. It has to happen on their channel. We got to build a set. We don't have a host. We don't know who's actually going to do it. So, that's a little peek behind the curtain of sometimes what the day-to-day is like of fun production problems. But the thing that is easiest for me to solve is to just build a set, because I figured that I'm just gonna get some fake brick walls, hang them up, make some man cavey vibes, like an underground basement bar. Maybe get some bar neon, get some tapper handles, and that's what my week is. But I went to Home Depot today, and I did something that I haven't done in a very, very, very long time, and I took a nap in my car.
Uh-huh.
When's the last time you slept in your car?
High school.
High school, like before class or like after school, like during lunch, or like when would you sleep in your car? And
I had sometimes tennis practice wouldn't start right away after school, so sometimes I would take a nap if my friends weren't hanging around. What else? I don't know. I didn't really I skipped class a lot, but I didn't go out on lunch to my car and sleep or anything. No.
okay, man, I forgot that you played tennis. We really have to do that one day. No.
Yeah, I played tennis just last week with Charlie. It did not go so well. Something in my ankle started falling apart, and I called it quits before it got too bad.
Has it since?
You got to listen to your body. If your body says, no, this is hurting, you need to stop this. You need to listen. Don't be an idiot and just power through. That's how you get yourself serious injuries, which Americans especially should listen to me, because healthcare is not cheap.
Dude, you're telling me I slept in my car because I didn't feel great, and I'm like, oh, I feel like I got a bad headache. Maybe I'll just recline my seat back, and before you know it, it was 40 minutes later, and I was waking up in a daze. And there was a small child who was probably about 6 looking in my car window that I woke up to. And mind you, I wasn't parked in the middle of a bunch of cars. I intentionally parked at the back of the lot where no one in theory would bother me, so I can just rest for a second, because I took some Advil, and I was just gonna wait this headache out for 10-15 minutes, close my eyes, but then bam, nap happened. Felt kind of good, but that child, I thought I woke up in some kind of a horror movie, because I was so confused between sleeping in my car and if this little girl was going to murder me or not.
Meanwhile, she was wondering what that homeless person was doing.
I know.
Is he dead, mommy?
Is everything okay?
I forgot to tell you when I saw you the other day. I know you're complaining about the long hair, but I think it's gotten to the point that you're really rocking the long hair. Just want to let you know.
We
If you choose to
can't
keep it, I support it.
we can't talk like any time that I think about or talk about hair, all I can think about is that I'm pretty sure that I'm actively balding. And I think I feel like I'm being baited into this conversation almost. Thank you. I should just say thank you.
Not at all.
For the compliment. I know that it's a thing, and I know that it's not my hairline, and I know that it's actually just the crown of my head, and I know that it's thinner than it used to be. I know for a fact that it's thinner than it used to be. And now I've spent the last 3 weeks intensely looking at other people's hair to see what their hair looks like, or the amount of Reddit and internet searches that I've been on to do research information about it. It has more than anything else consumed my life in the last month.
Is that why you're growing out your hair, Joey?
No!
Like the last ride?
Everyone...
Get the hair as long as possible while you still have it?
There's a couple things going on here. Some people say that generally your hair does look thinner when it grows longer if your hair is already thin, because it naturally pulls apart more and it parts easier.
Sure.
And you don't really do anything with it. So that's contributing to it. Also, when your hair has never been trained to be long and all and hold weight, generally you also lose a little bit more because your hair is just not used to it. Your head's not used to it. I'm not like a trained long hair person. This is new. Add on top of that I do have my grandfather is bald. My dad has a full head of hair. Everyone else in my family I think is relatively okay, but my mom does have pretty thin hair, especially for a woman. My sister's a cosmetologist. She does hair. And I'm like, Tori, my hair's thin. She's like, yeah, no, it's thinner than when I used to cut it. I'm like, fuck! Fuck! I know the last time I had blood work done, I have a vitamin D deficiency, so I was told. That's also related to hair thinning. So I'm now taking vitamin D capsules. Because I'm already low on them, and I was ignoring it until I realized it might have an actual side effect. I have consulted with an online doctor to talk about the pros and cons.
Whoa, reverse that. An online doctor is not a phrase you should be doing. I'm presuming you mean you met your doctor or had a meeting with him online. Not, I talked to an online doctor.
No, I talked to a professional from reddit.com/r/doctor, so I don't know what the problem is. No, I had a conversation with a licensed California physician, about and sent some pictures. And talked about hey, would I be a good candidate for whatever I forget the name of the pill that people take now to help prevent hair loss. I know Rich is doing it.
Oh yeah, Rich was very shameless about that. He said I am 100%. I'm gonna do whatever it takes to get my hair back.
I'm in the exact same boat as Rich right now, and I think that.
Nutrafol.
Yeah,
I just put in hair loss pill.
It starts with a B, like the generic name. I should do research. I should know this, but I was talking about Rogaine, Minoxidil. I was talking about whatever that pill is, which is supposed to stop stuff, and just getting professional opinions about it. But so the thing about Rogaine,
DHT blocker.
Yes, it's a DHT blocker.
Okay.
That's what the pill is. So the thing the thing with the pill is that the way that my hair looks, I might be actually a very good candidate for it if I am experiencing hair thinning and hair loss. That's the recommendation I got. But the thing is that if you start taking it, you take it forever. I
Really?
I would be committing to basically doing that for as long as I want to keep my hair, which could like literally forever. And one of the only real side effects that's documented for it, some good old fashioned ED.
I mean, that's not the only side effects. You want me to go through the list that I'm seeing here?
No, it's fine.
What about besides just normal ED? What about ejaculating too early or taking too long? Excess fat development and tenderness around the breast area.
That's fine. I already got solid B cups.
Darkening and thickening of facial and upper body hair. So it'll get your hair up top, but then, it'll start spreading downwards as well.
Maybe I can finally get a real goatee.
Yeah. Yeah. You might be able to grow out a real thick beard. I wonder if it keeps going like down your body. Like how far down does it keep going? Because it only says upper body.
Should ask Rich.
Like, do you just start getting the thickest pube hairs?
It's really coarse. It's like, hey, I'm really sorry about that. It's sandpaper.
You have to take a weed whacker.
God.
Quite literally trim the bushes out there.
You got to take it forever. That's the thing.
Pain in the testicles is another one.
Unrelated, I rolled over in bed on my testicles last night with one of my legs, and I almost instantly vomited. Like I vomited in my mouth a little bit because I was in so much pain. Haven't done that in a while. Also, this podcast is immediately working blue. I don't want to take the pills.
I got another random thing to throw in here. Because I'm looking at it right now, and I want to make sure I don't forget. What the fuck was that song you sent me?
What?
That was the most heinous, awful sounding fucking song I've ever heard in my life. If you want to listen to it, Google Phoenix Chicken, Happy Chicken. You'll probably follow it, though. It's only got 7,000 views.
I thought it was really.
It's got the most awful kazoo. What the fuck is this?
Really funny. It's actually a remixed version of a YouTube royalty-free song, that I was trying to use in an edit I was doing because I remember using that song before and I thought it was really funny, and I spent almost an hour trying to find it. So anyone should look that up. You can play it underneath the part. I should just play it underneath this part right here so everyone can suffer through it.
Yes, please do, actually, because people need to hear this awful sound.
Dude, I don't want to take the pill forever. And
Okay.
do you know Rogaine, which I also in theory could be a good candidate, like a really good candidate for because of the way my hair looks right now.
Okay.
When you take Rogaine, you actually lose a bunch of hair before hair grows back in because like it does some shedding. So it's a get worse before it gets better situation. So I like neither of these options.
Yeah, neither one sounds great. You could do it cosmetically.
I'm gonna try and ride it out for as long as possible. I'm gonna see if I can make it to October because I'm gonna keep the hair long until about September. Cut it. My sister's wedding is in October, which I just had to go fit. I had to go get fitted for a suit yesterday, which seems wild to me that you're supposed to get fitted 7 months out because God fucking knows that my body's not going to be the same in 7 months to wear that goddamn suit. Who thought that was a good idea?
7 months, that really is excessive.
My goal is to lose 20 more pounds in the next 7 months.
So what'd you tell them? Did you tell them you're like, I'm planning on losing some weight? But...
Yeah, I did. And they're like, well, belts. And I'm like, what? My pant size, for anyone who's curious, because I guess this podcast is just intensely personal about me now. My pant size is a 36 right now. I used to wear, and I really don't like that a lot of my pants are tights. My preferred like jean size when I'm buying Levi's are 35 30s, because I'm round and I'm short. So
Mm-hmm.
so
Mm-hmm.
35 30s is the preferred size. The 35 30s are a little uncomfortable right now. So like 36 is where I'm at. And the dude was like, dude, with these pants that you're getting, you should definitely get a 37 slim fit, because like you're gonna want it to look like good and like around your ankles. And I'm like, can you put in like a 35? Can you put like a 34? And he's like, a lot of people say they're gonna lose weight before the wedding, and I'm like, no, I'm already like I'm doing a good job right now, and I got I got a real goal. Like, this is gonna be fine for me. Um,
How much are you down now?
I'm down from 221 to 212.
Nice.
I don't know how much of that
Well
has just been
done.
like water or shit, but it's been about. I started at like February, like the first second week of February, so I'm already like a
That's
month
good.
in.
That's good. Your skin looks cleaner.
I also showered. I showered for you.
I bet you're cleared up. That's all having an effect. Good things are happening.
Yes, I want to be skinny for the wedding, or at least relatively
Hmm.
skinny, so that I can take good pictures for dating profiles, so that eventually I can find a wife before I lose all of my hair and my beard goes gray.
Yeah, yeah. Good call. Good call. I actually just had to give pictures to somebody, and let me just say, hidden benefit of being talent. One of those side effects you don't think about. I have tons of pictures of myself,
They're probably
and
good.
they're all professionally done. And I mean, all the ones that I have do look good because I have so many options. Every tournament organizer usually takes some sort of pictures. And so if I see something I really like, then I'll just,
Yoink.
transfer it over to my Google Drive. And so I've got a whole entire folder of just pictures of good professional pictures of me. It's great. Never have to worry about that.
Yeah, I definitely get some of that too. Like, you set up for a photo shoot with someone, but then you kind of stand in to make sure the
Oh,
lights
yeah,
work, and
yeah.
you're like, yes, time to pose.
Yes. Did I ever tell you I used to work as an assistant to a photographer?
I don't think so.
He was a very famous photographer. He actually had a he moved to Washington to get away from California because he no longer wanted to work in Hollywood and wanted to focus a bit more on portrait photography than what he was doing before, which he worked on like Star Trek and stuff.
Fuck.
Yeah, he was the lighting director, I think, for like the original Star Trek series, something like
That's
that.
really cool.
Yeah, he was telling me he was telling me exactly how they do the lighting effect when the old Star Trek whenever they would zoom in on Captain Kirk, and he would do his fucking stare off monologue thing. He would tell me how they did the lighting, and it was basically a rectangle right shot on the eyes to really highlight and give this intense feeling. And I was like, oh, that's really cool. He's got like this portrait of Ozzy Osbourne that he took that is crazy because it's Ozzy Osbourne without any like this is Ozzy Osbourne, post eating the bat, post, all the alcohol and all the drugs with like very little makeup and very little like he's not trying to set up. It's actually him like in between shots, and he just. You could just tell like life has had a toll on that man, and he's got this like 1,000-yard stare just looking at it's one of the coolest pictures I've ever seen. It's really awesome.
Dude, that is
But
really
yeah.
rad.
Yeah.
What's something you picked up working as a photographer assistant?
Well, at one point in time, I actually did want to become a photographer. So I learned of this guy and I applied to be his assistant. He picked me up. I learned a lot of little things about photography, but I never ended up pursuing photography past that job because then I ended up joining the military, and then my whole life went a different path. But yeah, the experience was pretty fun.
Huh, that's wild. So that's alternate universe. Cap is some like award-winning photographer.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. And I could be doing essentially the same thing, which is traveling around the world. But yeah, that was the job that I had before I went to Lowe's. Which you should have gone to Lowe's. Lowe's is the nicer store compared to Home Depot. Maybe it's like 5% more expensive, but much nicer interior.
The thing with Lowe's is that they don't rent stuff. So I needed to buy 4-foot by 8-foot like wooden slats and then like rent a truck to drive them over somewhere.
Okay.
But yes,
Fair enough.
I do generally like Lowe's a little bit more. If they were both equal distance, I would probably go to Lowe's more often. They got a better online system too. Actually,
true.
Home Depot, in terms of like regular retail, really stepping up their digital presence. Their website is super good at telling you exactly where in a store something is. It's incredible at that. I think that Home Depot might be the best store for like looking up online an item and then being told exactly where in the store it is. It's super awesome. And their self-checkout is just generally far and away the best one I've ever used too.
God, I I'm just imagining some poor soul. I want some more Dota podcast. Sunsfan and Synderen only do one a week. Let me check out this other one, this other popular one, Side Pole Podcast. Let me check that out. Let's see what they say about Dota. Wonder if they're talking about the major at all. 30 minutes later, Home Depot's website is just amazing. Incredible. Well, we're not done yet. We're not going to talk about Dota for quite some time because, Joe, you said you had a headache. I am also having a bit of a headache, and I don't usually get headaches. And I am also been experiencing waves of being very, very tired. And it's a good thing, though. It's a good thing because I believe these are all side effects of the vaccine that I got.
Wait. So. What, really?
Yep. I have been vaccinated with the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. Not the cool one that gets in your fucking RNA and starts changing some shit out. I've got just the normal dead virus one from Johnson & Johnson. Not as effective, but it does turn out that I am protected against mutant strains of COVID, whereas the RNA one doesn't actually protect you from that. So,
yeah, I can't wait for more of that research to be done because there's still like a bunch of question marks. I'm not a doctor. I'm jealous that you only got one shot. I think if I had my preference, I kind of want to get the sci-fi mRNA one just because.
Oh yeah,
but
what if those people develop superpowers? I'll be sitting here like a chump. Like I've got just I only had to take one shot. And this other guy's like, I've got laser for eyes. I'm like, yeah, but I only had to take one shot.
Dude, that's really cool. That means that you don't have to go back. That means that you probably could feel less anxious if you wanted to go to Target. That means,
Yes, just
you
in
can go
time
see your
for
mom
the major.
And not feel bad.
Yes. Indeed. My mom actually got hers, so I could actually, in theory, go see my mom. I probably won't for quite some time, but yeah, it's definitely a little bit of a load off my mind when it comes to traveling and stuff. Honestly, the best effect was that my mom was super relieved, so more so than myself. But yeah, good stuff. Got the vaccine. Hurt. Man, there was like 5-10 seconds. It actually hurt real bad. I was like, holy shit. Someone fucking just hit me in the arm with a baseball bat. Like, what the fuck? But then it gradually went away. And then I started experiencing side effects about 3-4 hours later. And most of it was just being pretty tired and having a bit of a headache that came and went.
Color me jealous. The worst vaccine I ever got was the second shot of Gardasil, which is the HPV one. Um, that's like a pretty thick serum, and I felt it go in my arm, and I'm like, oh, that doesn't feel good. And then my arm was like not super happy for a day. Have you ever gotten an injection in your butt?
Uh, we still talking about vaccines or? Yes, I have. In the military, they give you the shit. I forgot what we called it, but yeah, they give us a shot. I think it's penicillin or something, and goes in the ass, and you are very sore for like 3 days.
I got like a strong antihistamine in my butt once when I was having like a pretty bad allergic reaction, and they're like, it's a big needle, it's a lot of fluid, you probably don't want to use your arm, can you bend over? And I'm like, oh, and I said, oh, do you want my leg? And the nurse is like, no, pull your pants down. And I'm like, oh, yeah. I was making a joke. I'm so funny. Do you want my leg? Get it? I knew what you meant. And the funny part about that is that also my mom was in the room.
That's always good. How old are you?
Oh, God. 16.
Yeah, that's the age where you're just like, my mom's not supposed to see my butt anymore.
It's no longer cute or funny. But man, I'm in California now. The way that the vaccine rollout is kind of is kind of interesting, and I signed up to volunteer with distribution to get an overflow vaccine. So next week I'm supposed to be contacted for like a shift to go work sometime this month, where in theory, sometime by the end of March, maybe in April, I should be working a day at a vaccine site, and then at the end of the day, I get a shot.
Oh, okay.
That's like
that's
a
good deal
for community service.
Yeah, that's dope. The I know like the one I got today was I didn't know I was getting it until today, when it was one of those like, hey, we've got X number of vaccines and they have to go out before tomorrow. So if you can get here, it's going to be a long line, but if you can get here, you can get one. So
you sprint out the door.
Yeah. Yeah, something like that. So, because especially since I'm going to be like, even though I'm not going to the major, I'm going to be going back to Sweden most likely, and it'll be nice, especially since Sweden doesn't wear any masks. Still triggered about that. Good lord.
I heard that about Canada too. I was talking to people in Canada today, and they're like, "Dude, it's wild." I'm like in Toronto, I'm like, no one's wearing masks.
It's so easy. I would prefer if our society continued this trend of wearing masks long after we get vaccines. I haven't gotten a cold this entire time. You know, like it's fantastic that like I always think about that, where you see in Japan like people wearing masks because they've got the sniffles, they've got a cold or something. They're protecting the people around them from getting sick too. Why don't we do that? What's wrong with us?
I think that some of us will. I fully anticipate. I at the bare minimum will continue masking if I know that I don't feel well.
Yeah.
And also
it helps when we've developed this trend and now you have a bunch of masks at home, you know.
Yeah, no, I have masks. It'll be more socially acceptable. People will understand, and I won't just be like a weird person. Not that social pressure should matter, but it does. I intend on masking if I know I don't feel well, and probably anytime I go into a place that's like any more crowded than a Ralph's or a market.
Yeah.
It's kind of my thought process. The only time I ever get annoyed wearing one, which I believe is just a common complaint, is I'm really not a fan of exercising outdoors with them. Like running with one really is not great for me, because when I run I already go and I sound like a fucking like troll.
There's a little bit of spittle coming out of your mouth. It's collecting in the mask.
Dude, it's gross.
It's beginning to drip everywhere.
It's fucking gross.
It becomes a soggy mess.
I'm gross. I should
You're just filled with more shame than you were before.
Dude, I'm gross. Well, now that we hit 30 minutes, we can probably actually mildly talk about Dota. The thing is we didn't even acknowledge. This could have been a good opening bit. We didn't do a show last week, and it was entirely my fault because I went to bed at 9 o'clock at night.
It's not entirely your fault. I also didn't message you. You fell asleep, so even if I did message you, it wouldn't have done anything. But I also didn't message you, so.
We collectively decided, without talking to each other beforehand, to take a week off. And you know what? It was great because if we put ourselves in the mental time machine, we're doing the show. It's Monday, March 8th. And we're like, hey, we got a Dota podcast. What are we going to talk about? And then we look at what's going on and we go, fuck, nothing. And now we're here a week later, and we're thinking to ourselves, "Hey, we got a Dota show. Well, we can get to it eventually."
Yeah, I mean, there isn't too much that's happening right now. There's some Sweet Snow tournament that's going on. They're doing the second one, and so some tier 2 teams are playing in that. Some tier 2 NA teams are playing in the BTS series. And then the Chinese DPC is wrapping up, and that's actually been super exciting because the super team that I was telling you about, Elephant, they actually went down to the wire, ended up in a tiebreaker for fourth. And it turns out they're not even the 4th best team in China. They're the 5th best team in China.
Dude, I know that
they got outclassed by IG, Aster, LGD, and Vici Gaming.
Which
all
means
from memory.
that
was all from memory, just so you know.
Dude, hell yeah. The fucking Dota professional over here.
Yeah.
The thing with the Chinese DPC wrapping up now, and us knowing everyone who in some way, shape, or form is going to the major. And I know that if you've been paying attention or on Reddit or on Twitter, this is not a hot take at all. But the wild card looks super exciting and fun.
Yeah. And fucking deadly. I do not feel good for any team that is in the wild card, man. Again, I'm going to stick by what I said. And now I think it's even more apparent than what I said was totally true. The wild cards are going to be way more deadly, way more competitive. Between the top and bottom team, there is less of a difference between those teams than the top and the bottom of the group stage. I'm just going to put that out there and put my stamp on it. Dude, wild cards is going to be wow. It's a really good way to start the tournament, I think, from a viewing perspective.
It's a good way to
start. It's like a mini tournament.
It's a good way to start international Dota again after a year, too.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
like, it's going to be super exciting. And, you know, arguably for some of the wrong reasons. Like, it's going to be exciting because it's going to be a nail-biter. But I genuinely think that any of those teams can make it out.
Yes, 100%. I think arguably the weakest teams on that list are T1 and AS Monaco Gambit. Simply because I personally rate Liquid's potential as being very, very high. I mean, they're one of the few teams that managed to beat Secret this entire last year. The very few teams managed to do that. Nigma, TI champions, enough said about them. PSG, LGD, scrape past Elephant. I mean, this who's the bottom two teams actually just fully depends on your view of Europe and China. If you think Europe and China are both the top tier regions, then you have to assume that the other teams are just bottom two, right?
Yeah, but I mean, I think that, you know, I've seen some T1's games, and I wouldn't be surprised if they made a run. I wouldn't be surprised if they knock these teams out. I think that T1 is arguably better than some of the teams who are, you know, the second seeds from some of these regions. I think that it's probably not uncommon for people to assume that Liquid or even Nigma to do poorly relative to the Chinese teams. I think Nigma and both Liquid are the highest coin flip probability teams in those groups. Uh, I could very well see a world where either of them run the table or lose all their games.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough when like you just look at that wild card and you say, okay, there are teams who have one team Speed Secret, another team is former TI champions, another team has two former TI champions and a third coaching them, and then another one was the third best team in China. AS Monaco Gambit recently picked up no one. So, like, just from those optics, that's kind of scary. And T1, what's the thing about them? Well, they've got 23 Savage, who is held like that's a serious threat. I think that kid is really, really good. So they potentially upgraded T1 from what they were before. What they were before got them third. Now they might even be even stronger. And that's captained by March, or coached rather by March, who is a multi TI attending and dominating champion. So like champion, that was the wrong word. Player. He did really good at TIs is what I was trying to say. Like, you know, like that's a scare when you're probably like, you look at those two last teams, you're like, that's the least accomplished teams. Those are we expect the least out of those two. Like, that's scary, man. That's scary stuff.
I'm excited to watch all those games, man. I'm excited for it to come back. I think that it has kind of done the trick to really inject some big Dota match into my veins. And I think whoever gets out of that wild card, I'm just gonna be rooting for that whole event.
Oh yeah,
I'm gonna quickly become like a PSG fan.
Liquid is in the wild card, so.
Well, that's
you're essentially saying I will be cheering for Liquid or the team that beats Liquid.
I don't think that I come here with any true bias. No
okay,
bias whatsoever. No,
I think this major is so sick for storylines, and this is something that I'm actually I'm working on a project right now. Hopefully, it does actually come together. I've been doing a good amount of work on it, but it's kind of dependent on this. I'm going to be joining a new project. Can't talk about it just yet. It's not really that big of a deal, but it has the side benefit of I should be generating more content. And the very first piece of content I wanted to do was create a hype reel for this major, because I think storylines for this major are incredibly good. And I know there is no other commentator, there is no other host. Listen, I don't toot my horn very often. Okay, like if
I was a real piece of shit, I would hypercut right here all the times of you bragging. But I'm not. Just know I'm not going to, because I'm too lazy. But go ahead. Just imagine I did that.
Listen, I think I have a realistic view of myself. I know I'm not the number one analyst. I know I'm not the number one play-by-play caster. But no host, no analyst, no caster beats me on building storylines. Hand to God, I fully believe that. Nobody beats me on this. So I'm writing a storyline stingers for this hype reel for the major. It's I you know, and it's creative writing, which, you know, I actually enjoy writing quite a bit. So I've been having some fun with that. Would you like to hear my one on secret?
Yes, I would. Give me a little tease. I didn't want to ask if you can give me one, but if you're gonna offer
the secret one, I'm super proud of. It's either that or Virtus Pro one. Hold up, let me decide one.
Okay, give me some thinking music.
All right, the secret one is I'm real proud of because it's real sophisticated. All right, and there's fun. All right, let me just. While few can boast the kind of success Puppey has had, nobody can claim the level of consistent domination Secret secured this year. With a tight grip, the tyrants of Europe held the strongest region under their boot, allowing their foes victories that were few and far between. Now, no longer contained to Europe, the ruthless juggernaut reaped a path of devastation all the way to Singapore's upper bracket, where Alexander wept. Puppey waits. For finally, there will be more worlds to conquer.
Dude, I
Oh,
got a little chill.
oh.
I got a little chill.
That fucking, for those who don't know, there's a famous line when Alexander, well, I don't remember exactly the quote, but it's like when Alexander reached like the end of his campaign, right? He wept, for he realized there were no more worlds to conquer, right? So I build this like fucking war imagery into Puppy, and then I contrast where Alexander couldn't fight anymore. There was no more worlds to conquer. Puppy, he's coming out of Europe into the international tournament, and he's going to war. Mm.
Oh man, I got a little chill. I got a little chill halfway through. I'm like, ooh, that's good. That's good.
Thank you.
That's good.
Thank you.
There's something there.
Listen, I don't feel super confident about the quality of work that I do very often, but I knew. I wrote this. I was like, God damn, this is good. This is some good shit right here.
I'm excited to see. I'm excited to see where all these get used. Throw some echo on that voice. Throw a little bit of reverb on you. Put some cool imagery behind you, and suddenly, bam.
Yeah, the sad part is that like, well, I think what I would like to do this for tournament organizers in the future, except for, you know, they can actually put in some real LAN action shots, whereas I won't be able to do with this project. But the idea is that it'll be on screen will be various Twitch clips of whether it's the qualifiers of teams winning and losing, or maybe some of their past, or various images related to it.
I mean, at least for Secret, you have a full year's worth of catalogs of victories, too.
Yeah, you know, like you fade out my voice, you fade in commentators going wild about Secret winning or some shit, you know? Yeah. I think it could be cool. Because, you know, like, I feel like, why don't more tournament organizers do stuff like this? Why don't they try and hype up their events more? I feel like it's missing in the scene. And I think, honestly, what I think is missing is somebody just to write and do this for them, you know?
If I had to guess, if I had to take a swing at an explanation, I would say that maybe they know everybody is like already through the door, like they're admitted to the arena. They're there for the Dota. They kind of have like a hyper captive audience. So I think it's really cool to like hype them up and set stakes, especially for people who aren't as hardcore and noticing everything game to game, month to month, tournament to tournament, moment to moment, which is where I find value in this, especially, you know, like hype me up about someone who I haven't paid much attention to. Like hype me up about Fnatic or something, right? Like, you know, who maybe I should be paying attention to but haven't. But I think
pay attention to Virtus Pro.
Yeah, pay attention to Virtus Pro, who I've like.
I can give you Virtus Pro's thing right now if you want.
What is the
one I'm super proud
pros of. You wrote it in? That's a play on words about. It's about writing, because of the pros and Virtus Pro. I think they call that a pun.
That's the kind of puns we need in this, Joey.
Sorry, I won't take your spotlight. It's yours, not mine.
Do you want to hear?
Yeah, please.
Okay. For CIS, ancient history holds a certain kindness the present does not afford. And mentioned clips of TI1 Navi in the background, right?
Okay. I was thinking like Stalin at first, but now you're right. Like,
oh, Jesus.
Okay.
No, not quite that far. But it is in a very old scene. The newest generation of stars shine the brightest. With an undefeated record that rivals their European counterparts, Virtus Pro has taken the first step on the road to ascension. They come now to Singapore with a tenacity and ingenuity that no other team can match. Their arrival is hailed with a singular proclamation. The old gods of CIS are dead. Hail to the new pantheon. right? Because it's in a team of entirely new players. Mm. Oh,
I feel like you were like playing Hades while writing some of these. I feel a lot of connection to lore. That's cool. Are a lot of them like similar themed, or do those two just kind of draw a little bit more on history than others? You're thinking.
I think that I mean that is I think my personal writing style is that I'm going to play to epic, either fantasy or historical. Like I've got one that I'll write, not for this, but I'm holding this in case Valve would like to do this for TI. I've got another one where comparing Secret and Puppy to Ozymandias, right?
Dude, that's my
Look
favorite
upon
Breaking
my
Bad
works.
episode.
Look upon my works, ye mighty in despair, right? For those who don't know, there's this poem about this great ancient king. Look upon my works, ye mighty in despair. And all that there is a statue in a desert. There's nothing around. And so it's comparing Secret and all of the fucking amazing things they do when it's not TI, you know? And then whether or not they can actually get that immortality, or just like in many years past, if all their hard work and all the things that they do just turn to dust, because at the end of the day, TI is the only thing that matters. Oh, so good. Valve, hire me for this. Oh, we'll make a fucking hype reel. I'll put Riot to shame.
They're already gonna hire you, but they need to hire you for more work.
Yeah, give me more work. Give me more money. money, please.
No, that would actually be cool. They should do more stuff. I'm hyper interested to see, because in theory, we're like 5 months away from TI.
Mm-hmm.
Where's the planning going on that? They should be hiring people. They should be like, oh, we should start making hype reels now.
Well, see, that's the thing, is that they hire Slacks and they hire Casey, and they got their Valve video team to put together all this cool content,
which they've probably been making for 2 years.
And they make a lot of great content, but the hype reels, you know, I mean, to be honest, like Valve does do a really good job with that, but I feel like we don't really have a hype reel that leads into the first day of TI. I feel like they usually do that. They save that for the main event. I'm actually certain about that. It always feels like they create, because I've narrated some of that, very small amount of it, and it's always like the night before that they put it together. I feel like group stage and stuff like Valve doesn't really care that much about. They just want to they want the stage to be set for the playoffs, and then like, all right, now the main event begins. We're getting everybody into the stadium, you know. Makes sense. Like, bottom two teams eliminated. Like, who cares about the 17th and 18th best team?
Dude, I'm just having a moment realizing that like August is not that far away.
Yeah. Yep.
I'm interested in what's going to happen still. I know that there's rumblings of some tournament organizers, not just in Dota, but in other places, who are like tentatively planning stuff, but expecting to still cancel stuff because they think that most of 2021 is still a wash, even though things are getting better. So I'm really interested in what to see. If I had to put my chips on any sort of table, I would wager a guess at like a audienceless TI in August.
Yeah, it sounds about right to me. Sad, but it is what it is. We should try and do a TI though. I think
it would be really interesting. I wonder what an audienceless TI would look like, and then like, because generally also when TI happens, there's like that for anyone who's ever been, generally there's a whole like VIP section, which is just like actually a fuck ton of people who are like related to either talent, who are working, because a lot of people have to work TI.
And not related to talent most of the time. I'll just step in right there real quick. Let me just say, we don't get very many tickets at all. I had a hard time getting Ellie anywhere.
Let me
But
rephrase.
players, yes,
Not
lots
related
of
to
player
talent,
family,
not
hundred
related to
percent.
talent, but like
Mm-hmm.
there is like there's a lot of talent, and then there's a
Yes.
lot of teams, and teams generally have people not just for the players, and I think generally at TI like players get extra tickets to give to like family or like friends. And then also there's
Yes.
like support staff. Like each org generally has like what 10 to 20 slots that they're allowed to bring of
Yeah,
people.
they teams and players and stuff get a lot. That's
It's
why I stepped in there because it's been a problem in the past. It's like Talbot just but,
I
like
can't bring my
do I have to go
girlfriend,
to
but why
do I
can
have to
a
go to Quincy Crew to ask for their tickets so I can get my partner to like be with me? Like what? Like why do I have to go to teams to beg them for a ticket?
um I wonder if they
Ridiculous.
also reel that in. Like I wonder
Oh,
if it's
very likely.
I
Yeah.
wonder if it's like the world's most exclusive TI where it's just like players, a very small support staff, and a couple talent.
Yeah. No, I know getting bringing a sub, for example, to the major. I was talking to somebody today about that. Getting a sub to the major is like incredibly arduous process. I know that Valve has limited the number to 7. I think only 7 people are allowed for a team, so the 5 plus the manager plus a coach. That's all you get. So if you have an extra analyst, you have a secondary coach, you don't get to bring that person. Yeah, it's a lot of things.
Because for reference, like at least from a Team Liquid point of view, Blitz jabs Chloe
Yeah,
plus 5 players. That's
yeah,
one more. Someone's gonna leave. It's not gonna be
yeah.
Blitz. So one of the other 2 core components of their 8-person team can't go to the major,
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
which makes
So
sense from a worldview Corona everything situation bubble situation. But you know that's just one example of where things can kind of go a little sideways, and we'll see what happens with TI. I guess it's really early to be theory crafting about that, but I just realized like man, that's probably like 5 months away. Um, you were talking about Secret.
sorry, I just random thought. I wonder if they're gonna consider if they are all going to reconsider it being in Sweden, or if they're going to, because there are certain areas that are going to be ahead when it comes to vaccines than others, right? I wonder if that could possibly change
Like if they maybe
where the
hold
venue
that
is.
Sweden TI until they can really do a proper TI, and maybe like this year's like a
Yeah, I mean, like I know Israel's like really far up there in percentage of vaccines already.
mhm.
I think it's slated for America to be, you know, like mostly vaccinated by what, May, June?
What actually it might not be helpful to think about like percentage of population that's vaccinated, but instead think about like which countries have like the least restricted borders to get other people in.
Yeah, that too. That too.
So
Because
so
getting into the EU, as we've seen from BSJ and FOG getting denied, getting into the EU is very difficult right now.
yeah, and I don't know like does that mean that we have like TI Mexico because that's
Mhm.
actually like the area that has like some of the least restrictions on international travel right now? Like
Mhm. And are they going to do anything to try and ensure that? Because I know F1 was apparently getting all of their drivers vaccinated before a race. I don't know if this is actually true. Someone just said it in my Twitch chat yesterday. Um, so, but I imagine sports are doing certain things to ensure that their players are getting vaccinated, so they have safe events. I wonder if Valve is going to do anything in that regard. That's obviously difficult because it's international and stuff, but uh, you know, also something worth considering. You know,
only time will truly tell. And until then, it's just going to be us going, well, I wonder what they're going to do.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
you were talking about Secret a minute earlier, and I think something to potentially round out on is something that I've been thinking about a bit recently. I know that I've seen some people on Twitter talking about this too. Have you seen how much do you follow teams and their personas on Twitter.
Oh my god. Team Secret's Twitter is very rapidly getting obnoxious. Let me just say, Mitter Meepo needs to tone that shit down. I'm gonna start fucking muting team Twitters. I follow like everyone that's involved in Dota, and until I have a reason not to, in which case I'll mute you or block you or unfollow you or something.
I generally
Secret's Twitter here is getting that point.
I generally don't follow team Twitters because their updates that would be relevant to me generally just aren't. Like, I don't need to know match score lines. I'm probably finding those anyways. Like, I don't really care about what most teams are doing unless I'm hyper invested in them, like Liquid. But more and more, I'm seeing like all these tweets and all these interactions off stuff that, and I see this in other games too, even. But it's like becoming less. It feels like to me it's becoming less fun and rapidly more mean.
Yeah. I mean, when you're Secret too, especially, it's at some point in time you're punching down real hard.
That's the thing. Like, that's something that the notion of punching down or punching up is something that I've always tried to be really mindful of, and it feels like it's something that Secret is flagrantly breaking. Like, why are you going to the internet to really shit on teams and punch down to people who really are not even close to your caliber level, which at this point does mean OG.
Yeah. It's even weirder when it's like, okay, like a player punches down. It's even weirder when like the social media guy is punching down. Like, all right, well, you just happen to represent like the most dominant team in Dota. Like, but honestly, I was like, the reason I'm annoyed with the Twitter is, listen, you can pull the whole responding to a really old tweet to update it on people's timelines to make it seem like it's a new thing. The 2018 battle pass is out and you respond with POG or whatever, and it tricks a bunch of people into thinking the battle pass is out. You could do that once, all right? You did it again for Anna coming back. I'm like, it's just obnoxious. It's not funny. It was like kind of funny the first time. Kind of. It's not funny like the second or third time. It's just obnoxious. Stop doing that.
Follow
You're
my
supposed
Twitter
to make
rules.
your team likable.
That's the thing. Maybe, and when I think about this, I also like try and take a step back and go, well, okay, I'm probably not the demographic they're going for, but then like, am I so far removed from whatever that like? Is that just a small group of people who are interested in like this quote hardcore banter, or is it a small group of people, or do a lot of people like it and I'm an outsider for like thinking that it's kind of obnoxious?
No. What you and I are, because we're older and we're also tied into the ecosystem, so we're very aware of all the tweets that happen. You and I are the canaries in the mines, okay? You and I get annoyed because we've seen all of their tweets, most likely. We're more tied in to know everything that they're doing. And we're also older, so yeah, it's probably going to bug us a little bit
We're
more.
cranky now.
We're
My hair's falling out.
We're old cranky men, exactly. Like, we're the first to get annoyed. We're the canaries that die, to let you know oxygen is indeed running thin. I think you and I getting annoyed is a sign that you keep pushing this, and the general community is going to start getting annoyed as well. So
really,
scale it back. You got some real killers. You're a good fucking social media man. Just scale it back a little bit. Just chill, dog.
I also think every company, and this stretches beyond like esports teams, just companies in general, the notion that like every social media manager for every company needs to have like a banger tweet or two.
Yeah, needs
every
to have the
week.
snarky tweets at the competitors and stuff like that. Everybody's trying to be fucking Wendy's.
Yeah.
Stop.
Everybody wants to be Wendy's, right? I guess. I don't know. I don't know, man. I'm not feeling it. I'm progressively getting more annoyed at the situation.
Hmm. But yes, what this originally started was a reference to the OG versus Secret, where they just kept tweeting back and forth at each other, and it got weird. It just got weird. It felt personal between like two two teams that are operated by social media managers, like, and it just felt like weird and awkward and personal. It was like, what's going on?
What I
I
even
don't
think
like
about
either
too
one
is
of
like, you know, I don't imagine that teams like that, like I can speak to like Liquid social media structure. There's like a team of people who run social media accounts and are like very uh, professional and metered, right?
them.
I think like Secret and OGs like have a person. Like who are they running back up the chain to talk to and like, hey, we're gonna get in a little Twitter spat. Like, is this okay? Like, is it just one person who thinks this is fine with like a minimal oversight because it's just the way that like they work? Like,
Yeah, and they also get the direct feedback of this got a lot of social media interaction. It got a lot of responses and likes and retweets, and look look at all the metrics we have. That's a lot of numbers. But
I feel
yeah,
crankier and crankier when that seems like a less good excuse to me because I feel like a younger me is like, oh yeah, I'm like the whole point of the game is to just get more likes and upvotes, right? But now it just feels like, oh fuck, that's so gross that we're at this point in society. Like,
yeah. You know, it's also another point in society that we have that's also kind of gross is that we're still teaching players about racism.
I
Don't keep,
saw what I think
you
you're
know.
talking about, and I looked at it and I'm like, well, this seems stupid, and not because it should be
Yeah.
disregarded, but just like, ugh.
Yeah. I mean, the player came out, said, did an apology. You know, who
Who was
knows if he
it?
actually Panda Boo for uh, is it No Ping. I don't remember, one of the South American teams that I can't place right away. But yeah, had a real little N-word slip and apologized for it. And yeah, as soon as somebody apologizes for it, I'm just yeah, it was No Ping. I'm whatever. I'm over it at this point. The thing is that like I don't know if we can make this a big thing. Like so Gods, I actually want to talk about this. I wanted to get your input on this. Gods tweeted out, "Hey, we see you and we want to let you know like we do see this and we don't want you involved in our tournaments." And I thought like something about that gave me a little bit of pause because 100% stand up against racism and all of that. But like, I'm sorry, but like, there have been a lot of players who've done a lot of racist shit. And only one of them has been banned from an event, and that was Cuckoo. When Valve stepped in, for various reasons, I'm sure.
Is kind of what you're getting at, that like we've shifted what isn't acceptable and suddenly we've drawn a line. We're like, okay, now you can't be racist, but everything else in the past, like we're still gonna let fucking Mason come to an event, or like we're gonna say that he's like a good Twitch streamer or something, or we're gonna have, I mean, I'm sure I can fucking make a laundry list of players' names who have chat logs.
Yeah, I mean that's some of what I'm getting into, but like, I mean, just specifically I just think it's a weird place for tournament organizers to specifically be the ones to dole out the punishment, because I highly doubt that Secret or BTS is going to decline any number of various other teams and players that I'm not going to get into that have had racist issues in the past. I doubt they're going to start declining them. But also the fact that shit, where was my train of thought leading me? It derailed.
Yeah, you gotta get
What
back
was I
to.
talking about, Joey?
I I I don't think that. I mean, if tournament organizers aren't the people who are
Oh
doing
yeah, it's
anything
supposed to
about
be
it,
the
then who
responsibility of
is?
team owners, right? It's supposed to be the responsibility of team owners. Problem in Dota is that there's very often either player-owned organizations or no sponsor. They're just a made-up team, right? Who maybe have a manager, but the manager is more of an employee to the players. So there's no one really to hold players like super accountable. So then it does fall into the tournament organizers in a way. They have to be the ones to step in, because you just don't know if Valve's going to step in. You know, Valve likes to. They're. You know what Valve is? Valve is shit. What is that? It's like what all the Enlightenment thinkers thought about God. It's the model where like the clockmaker model. I think it was what it was called. But basically, he makes the watch and then it just runs automated, and he doesn't step in from there. Valve is kind of like that. I feel like, you know, they set up the system and they just let it run. And then, you know, if something goes wrong, they'll fix it, you know, if they really have to. But otherwise, I think they just want to remain hands off. Valve is like that.
You got to really
They're the
fuck up.
clockmaker.
You got to really fuck up to get
Yeah,
Valve's
you got to
attention
really
from-
fuck up. There's got to be a lot of community outrage for them to step in. The time's got to be way off on that watch, you know.
like, ah, shit, we gotta adjust this. That's the thing. Like, and then they'll be more annoyed that they have to do something about it. So.
So then they're going to ban you super hard. Anyway, I was just wondering what you thought about that. Because when I saw that, it gave me pause. And I was just like, I'm totally down for like standing up against racism and stuff. But I was just like, there's something about this that wasn't right. And I had to think about it.
I think that you're kind of spot on in that there aren't really teams in Dota who would take this stuff seriously. Like there are teams in Dota who would take this seriously. Like if any of that should happen to one of the Evil Geniuses players, they're fucking out of there. Liquid, probably some of the Chinese teams that are real.
I mean, all the various tier 1 teams are much better at have been much better about cleaning up their public image, for sure.
Yeah, but you can't even count, like, because some of the teams that are the Dota Tier 1 teams like that aren't really, like, multinational esports teams. Like, I wouldn't put Secret in that same regard. I wouldn't put Nigma in that same regard. I wouldn't put OG in that same regard. Like, those are all teams that are essentially player-owned organizations and are responsible to, like, not a lot of people. Like, you know, if Matumba Man went on some kind of, you know, racist tirade, are they going to be like, well, we could do the right thing, or we can just, you know, keep playing Dota? Yeah, who are they really accountable for? So then it does
they'll
potentially...
They'll do what the other players have had to do in the past, where they issue a public apology and get penalized a certain amount of money, but they're not getting suspended out of a game or anything like that. You know, they're not going to endanger their future winnings.
Exactly.
Their future placement at TI.
Well, did you see, and I believe this actually broke today, potentially, did you see the news that Alienware is pulling their entire sponsorship from the LCS?
Over what?
The Riot CEO's sexual harassment of female employees.
Ooh, damn. A sponsor finally came in and was like, all right, this is too much. This is too hot for me.
Yeah, I mean, basically, Riot was fine with all their sponsors through everything that happened through like the last 18 months, 2 years, you know, when there was a lot of people coming out and telling stories about Riot and protesting.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, Blizzard, I think, was fine making it through most of their, you know, stuff with Overwatch. But this is also, Alienware is like a title sponsor of the LCS, you know.
Oh, really?
Like
I haven't watched the LCS for a long time, so I didn't know that.
I have to, for better or for worse. I guess I don't have to. I choose to. I still have a lot of complaints about League of Legends. It's wild how that game is so boring, and then one thing happens and it decides the whole game. That's not the point is. The point is that, you know, I thought it was super interesting that it was the sponsors who were like, nope, we can't be involved with this, even though they're still related to teams who play in the LCS. Their monitors might still be on broadcast because like, or they'll have to go buy new monitors in like the span of quickly, or like, you can't fully get out of the LCS broadcast when Team Liquid has big Alienware logos on their shirts and they're playing in the LCS, right? Like, it's very much a statement against management and Riot, and I think that it is far and away the biggest sponsor to do that to date to someone who's essentially like a game dev,
Yeah, that is really wild. Yeah, I hadn't heard about that. That's crazy. What made them decide now? Out of curiosity, because I feel like this whole like Mark Merrill, Riot Games, sexual harassment and toxic workplace thing has been going on for years now.
Well, I think that the toxic workplace and the sexual harassment of particular female employees at Riot has been going on, but it was only semi-recently that the CEO was like quite implicated.
Oh,
I think before that
okay.
it was like other people who were like board members or like high-level managers. But like this is the first time where like the head of the company is the person who is in the crosshairs, and very much perceived to have done this thing at least in the public eye. So I'll be interested to see like what does Buffalo Wild Wings do, what does Rocket Mortgage do, what are these other sponsors going to do now after Alienware's jumping off this boat.
Yeah, I mean that sort of thing starts. That's a domino effect, right?
Yeah,
Because then the other sponsors have more pressure on them to also do that thing.
Because if it's like, well, if Dell got out, why am I here as Buffalo Wild Wings? Like, am I going to be the people who supports this now because other people already left, right? Like, you don't want to be in that position.
Yeah, because then at that point you're you're just Buffalo Wild Wings. That's the only sponsor. You're like, that's the sponsor that's okay with sexual harassment. Buffalo Wild Wings.
That might be their brand. Who actually knows? The thing, I guess to answer your question though, because I think I danced around it a little bit. I don't know if I totally agree with the notion of gods just like acknowledging people or like saying that we don't stand up for something. I think that yes, that is a good sentiment, and I agree surely in the direction that's going. But what I'd much rather see is some type of like standardized like, hey, like this is BTS's new rule set for player conduct outside of tournaments. And if anyone from this point forward is caught, or shown evidence, whatever, to like, being racist in pubs, like, beating, not nice to other people. I was gonna say beating up your girlfriend, which isn't,
Jesus.
Anything that we're trying to shine a light on, and like really, put those rules in, make a stand, make it clear to people so that moving forward, it's not a surprise if you do pull the plug on a player or a team. Like that's probably what I would prefer to see is like a set of rules or a set of expectations and not just acknowledgement. Because at some point acknowledgement just feels like, thoughts and prayers.
I mean, more specifically for this, it felt like a little bit like me, to me anyway. It was like, like, okay, this has happened twice now. Gotta say something. Like this is annoying. We should say something. Like we should let people know that we're not good with this. But it feels like to me, it's like, I guess this is gonna be a little sensitive, but I feel like the hate that is in the sentiment coming out of some South American kid who may or may not know any better versus some kid, similar age in Europe who says all Russians, Hitler should have killed all the Russians or whatever the fuck. I think it was mind control or something like that. Like, I feel like the equal amount of hate is coming out of those statements, I feel like there is an equal amount of hatred being spewed by some players, and like pubs and some of the language that they use
But as long as
across
you
a
do it
lot of
creatively
themes.
and don't use like the specific bad words, you can get away with being a piece of shit.
Yeah, yeah. So I don't know. So I don't totally disagree with God's. Like I do think it's good to stand up at some point in time. It's just I thought it was an interesting topic of discussion that I didn't know quite where I landed on. So
Because it's complicated. And I'm sure
yeah,
that, we can theory craft scenarios that we agree with and disagree with on both sides. And like edge, it's a topic with so many edge cases that it's hard to make a blanket about.
yeah,
It's a
yeah.
it's a
I
very
mean,
pointy blanket.
what was it? Skem got I think he got banned from Dream League. That was actually a second time, and that was because he said the CHI a word, Chinese slur, and that I think that was the only other player that got banned from something. And as far as I remember, his apology involved him not realizing how hateful. Like well, a lot of times you just probably don't know the history behind a word, you know, and how it can be used. So he didn't realize that what he was saying was so hurtful. And like I could buy that, you know. I'd much rather attribute some of these things to ignorance than malice, you know. So it's a complicated issue.
It is. That's a slippery slope because I definitely agree that there's a lot of people, especially in communities where it is much more the norm to do stuff. And that's like an argument that you'll see oftentimes too. Like, oh, well, it's commonplace to say this word in such and such a place. But um, at some point, you have to realize that we're a global community, and that doesn't mean that you should just be stuck to American standards. But like, we have changing global standards that we kind of all agree is okay, and not every region or country or city or municipality is on that same thing. So, I understand someone who is ignorant,
Yeah.
truly ignorant.
So you know what this leads me to is I think we're in an awkward growing phase of the effect of the internet and its effect on international like culture. And like we're in this awkward growing phase where I feel like one or two generations after us, like those things will have been more universalized. People will just naturally know like what language is not okay. But right now we're in this awkward period of time where, like people like very often the standard that is set by American and European culture
We control the media.
because we're the primary English speaking language and English is more often than not the international binding language. So it's like you have to follow this standard even though you did grow up in those cultures. So you may not know. But the internet it makes us global. So you'll get to know, you'll learn. And in the future, you'll learn a lot sooner. But like right now, we're just in this awkward phase where there's a lot of people, who just who don't realize this. So it's I think it's just an interesting development that I think there's a reason why we see this happen over and over and over again.
I think that something that I actually spend a decent amount of time thinking about, sometimes in relation to older family members or mostly older family members, is the notion that like a lot of this stuff has never been okay. Like it's never really been okay to marginalize people, right? But like
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people did it out of ignorance because they never got to hear from the people who are being marginalized. And now the internet lets us hear from those people who we're saying shitty things about as equals to ourselves without a name or a face or a body.
Mm-hmm.
So like what my grandparents would have never known because they literally never talked to anyone in their lives who wasn't really white. Like that's no longer the case. Like I get to hear people's stories and I get to understand different culture. Just by virtue of the internet, which I think is really cool. And I also think that it's something that people don't always grasp all the time. Like these inequalities have always been there. It's just now we're able to shine a light on them and like learn about them. And like I can know that I'm shitty. and I can look back at stuff that I did when I was a kid and be like, well, that was mean, or that was probably like racist, 7-year-old Joey. Why are you doing that? And it's cool to see that evolution. And I don't know where I was ending this on. Actually, I completely meandered away from my point.
I think it's a good conclusion. I think we're all learning. I've said some homophobic or racist things in my past. I've had some vocabulary that wasn't nowadays considered very PC. I've learned to cut that out of what I'm currently trying to take out is the word retarded. Working real hard on cutting that out of my vocabulary. It's but I've said it recently, but I'm trying to cut it out.
That one was easier for me to drop than bitch.
Oh really?
It was I never say the first one, and I probably get one bitch every 3 months at this point when I think it's funny, and then I have to stop myself and be like, it's probably not funny, Joey.
I mean, I just play so much DOTA that I really want to call people the harshest word of stupid I can think of, So, but my point was just, we're all learning on these things. Life is growing, learning experience, and you're going to make some mistakes, and hopefully people will just recognize that, learn from that. I personally don't hope that this Panda Boo guy, I know nothing about him. I'm not even sure if I've run into him in pubs. I hope that, seems like he gave a sincere apology. I hope what he said was based out of ignorance. I hope he's not going to be banned for the things he says. I hope he learned his lesson,
As soon as he does it a second time, get him the fuck out of here.
Yeah. Then you can start suspending people from tournaments and shit. I want to see that happen. But, yeah. But fun times. Next week we should be talking about some more lighthearted stuff, as the major will be just right around the corner. But there isn't a whole lot of stuff that's going to be going on until then.
I don't know what I know that we missed a week, and I know that we just like talking to each other. But I don't know what I'm gonna write the podcast description about or make the YouTube thumbnail. We bounced everywhere conceivable.
Yeah.
We went crazy here.
Yeah.
We got lost down a fucking path, dude.
We did COVID, and we did DOTA, and we did racism.
Yes. The classic CDR.
Yeah, everyone. That's what you should know the Sidebowl podcast is about. Oh, Home Depot. Home Depot. Make sure to throw Home Depot somewhere in there as well.
All right.
Very important.
I'll make sure to put Home Depot.
It's about Home Depot and racism.
That's it. I'll call the show Home Depot and Racism.